Closed doors, I'm a fool for your love.
Alright, what's up guys? I just posted a big ass heavy video and I had wanted to follow that up with something proactive, positive, a little bit more lighthearted, I guess. I ended up watching the video that Carissa Pukas just posted on her breast implant illness. I didn't even expect to make it through the full 44 minutes, but her story is profound and this video was amazing. On that note, I had planned to record a completely separate topic, but in watching her video, she went through something very similar to what I went through when I was trying for all those years to diagnose my health issues and find out what was wrong with me and why my health was declining. She had a really hard time, by the sounds of it, finding doctors, getting a medical diagnosis. What she was going through, a lot of doctors didn't believe was possible, and the same with me. This is a video that I had planned to eventually make, but I decided to make that today. So my health issues started when I was 26 years old. I just started getting better a few months ago and I'm 33. One of the biggest points of frustration for me through my entire process and health journey has been trying to find a doctor that will listen to me and trying to find a doctor that knows what's going on. Let's face it, so many people go see medical doctors and it's not like the doctors aren't trying in most cases. But people are getting these tests done, they're coming back fine, and people know that they're not okay. Guys, trust your instincts. So what I want to talk to you about is the steps that I used over the last 7 years to build my team of professionals that actually helped me in the end. And these are hopefully steps that you can use to whatever you're going through with your own health. So step 1. Find a doctor. But find a doctor that frickin' listens to you. The first doctor I found out in Kelowna, he helped, his intention was good, but he was a brand new doctor. He had no clue what was going on. He wasn't rude to me or anything like that. So he was on my side and all the power to him. He ended up leaving to work in the hospital, so I couldn't see him anymore anyway. After that, I was left once again high and dry without a doctor. After multiple visits to the emergency room, I remember one day in particular, I went into the emergency room, I think 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, and at 2:30 in the morning, I finally managed to see a doctor. And that doctor spent the entire time with me having a conversation with my chest. He was very rude and very degrading. I felt terrible when I came out from my consult with him. He told me that what was going on with my neck was impossible and I needed to go home and get some sleep. And what he said was impossible is actually what turned out to be happening to me. I was hurt, I was terrified. I didn't know where else to turn because that was an emergency room doctor, and if he wasn't going to listen to me, who was? So find a doctor that treats you like a human being and will actually listen to your side of the story. I know it can be really hard to find a doctor out here in the Okanagan. Sometimes you have to travel a few cities over to even find a doctor because there's just nobody available. So I understand that that's a huge challenge. But if you can't find a doctor, just keep trying. Sometimes it takes time, but it's worth the shot. If everything else fails and you can't actually get a family doctor to take you on, find a walk-in doctor that you feel comfortable with and stick with it. Sometimes it's worth the time it takes to actually get in to see a specific person that makes you feel comfortable and doesn't leave you feeling less human or embarrassed or hurt or anything like that. So if there's a doctor who's rude or who doesn't listen to you at all or doesn't, like, the conversation has to be two-sided. It has to be a two-way conversation for this to work. I don't care how much they know. You know your body, you're the one who's experiencing what you're experiencing, and you're the one who can best describe it. And you know, we all have gut feelings as to what's right and what is resonating with us and what doesn't feel right at all. It has to be a two-sided conversation, guys, to get anywhere. Preferably when you leave that office, you want to feel good and hopeful and good about yourself for having gone to see them, and not degraded or hopeless or embarrassed or scared or sad or any of those things. You don't want that. Find somebody who treats you like a human being. My second piece of advice is to look absolutely everywhere for an answer. Answers to these kinds of questions can come from some really unexpected places. It can quite often be a combination of solutions that aren't medically derived. In my case, it was a chiropractor that helped me, but in the end it turned out to be a very specialized form of chiropractic that actually came to my rescue and made this massive impact on my life. So it was a combination of that and a naturopathic doctor that really turned my entire life around. Through my entire journey, I went for so many kinds of injections. I had so much blood pulled. I had chiropractors manipulate like every part of me. I tried different kinds of massage. I tried neural coaching, some kind of neural coaching. I can't even remember what it was called. Just to train my brain back after the concussions that I had, so things would fire normally again and hopefully fix everything else that was happening in my body. I tried this huge combination of things, and all I'm saying is don't rely solely on the medical system, because your answers can come from other places. I'm not saying that everything out there works and everything out there is legitimate and safe to try and a good thing for you, but just leave your options open. Don't rely solely on the medical doctors. If there's this dot of information over here and this dot of information over here, you are constantly connecting all of these dots, and where those dots intersect, that's where you do your research, and you're just constantly searching here, there, and everywhere for these connections, and it's a serious rabbit hole, guys, which leads me to my next piece of advice. Research, research, research. This is actually a very fine line because, as they say, don't Google what's wrong with you. I can't express that enough. Like, be really careful with this one. You can get into some pretty big trouble because, according to Dr. Google, I should have been dead so many times, and I could have had a multitude of really horrendous, terrible things wrong with me, and I didn't. So please, if you take my advice on this one, just be careful with it. Really source your information well. Mayo Clinic is a great resource, and I believe WebMD was a different one that I used a lot as well. So don't just spend your time on forums with people talking about what's wrong with them, because that is not the place that you want to be to investigate your health. Go to official sites, stick only with those sites, and be very careful straying from what you've chosen. But you still want to get that research done. It's the only way to truly understand your own situation. I do think it's kind of funny that if I had started in medical school when this all started happening, I would legitimately be a doctor by now, because it's been 7 years, and I think that's the length of medical school. I'm pretty sure. If a doctor says something isn't possible, do a bit of research, find out why it's not possible. If you've come across medical terms and they start to pop up more and more and more, or you see this one term repeated more and more often, investigate that, because it might not be the whole story, but you could take a piece from there and that could resonate with you, and then this piece over here makes a little bit more sense. And eventually, if you're lucky, you can start to build this picture for yourself, which can in turn help the doctors try and diagnose what's actually wrong with you, instead of having bringing this more abstract situation into their office and saying, hey, can we put this in a nice little tidy box and make it a diagnosis, because that's really tricky, let's face it. Nothing with the body is black and white, it seems. So keep asking questions, ask all the questions in the world, and as long as they're pointed and make sense, then you're not going to stray too far from your focus. Really, what you want more than anything is to empower yourself enough to guide your own health journey. Just empower yourself so you know what's actually going on and what these terms mean. And the more information you have, the more you're going to gain an understanding, and the more you're going to be able to seek out the right professionals and help doctors and all those professionals, for that matter, understand your situation, which in turn will speed up your entire healing process. So when you start out, you are going to have this massive array of overwhelming information. You're going to get bombarded with so much information. If you have this new unexplained health situation going on, and it could be this, it could be that, it could be that, it could be that. There was a point I thought I even had MS because it seemed very similar in symptoms. Again, Dr. Google. When you can research an entire world's worth of information, you have to start somewhere. So start with what resonates with you the most and keep things simple. I know that's easier said than done, but if you can keep things as simple as possible, it's going to make your journey a little bit more linear, and it's going to keep you from going off on tangents all over the place. So as you do your research and you start to narrow down what might be able to help you, different professionals, whatever it may be, it could feel like you have so much to do all at once and so much to try. My suggestion would be to make a list of all those things and to pick the top 1, 2, or 3 and try those first. So the long and short of it is, you're probably going to want to pick the solutions or the potential solutions that could have the most benefit for you. If something sounds so promising that it's almost too good to be true and like a really good fit, I would pick that over something that seems like it would be a complete shot in the dark. You'd be best to pick that one over this one, just because you have finite resources and you want to put them where they're most likely to help you the fastest. This whole thing can be absolutely financially exhausting, because if you're in Canada, the medical system has coverage and it doesn't cost us that much out of pocket. Paramedical does. The chiropractor, massage, naturopaths, homeopaths, everything, that all costs money out of pocket. So again, you're going to want to put your resources and your financial resources where they're going to have the most impact. If you think that's over here as opposed to over here, go there first. If you can do everything and you have unlimited resources and unlimited finances and all the time in the world, by all means do everything. But at the same time, if you're trying everything, you're not going to know what works the most for you and what you should stick with, as opposed to what you could take or leave. My last piece of advice is probably the number one most important piece of advice that I have, and that is to trust your own intuition. And I know that that's hard for some people. A lot of people aren't used to that. It's a practice that is foreign to so many people, and if you're one of them, then that's perfectly fine. You're not alone. All it takes is a little bit of practice, but I'd highly recommend that you do that, because it is so vitally important to your whole health journey and to really start pinpointing what's going on with you and your health. I've always said my situation would have been so easy if I had just blown a knee or just broken a leg. You can see that on the x-ray. It's pretty obvious, but because what I had was so abstract and you couldn't see it on any of the scans, I really, really had to dive deep and trust my own instincts and trust my heart and my gut and say, hey, this is not right for me, or that doctor didn't tell me what I needed, or that doctor's not right for me, that chiropractor's not right for me, this isn't helping, that's not right. It's the ability to distinguish between right and wrong just based on the feedback you're getting from your body. It can tell you more than you realize. If you're doing some research and you find something that you really think can help, but you think it's unlikely, or it's too pricey, or it's not accessible to you because you have to travel, if your gut says that it's worth it to check it out, it just might be. It's really, really important to get this puzzle piece down. One thing that it took me a while to realize, a long while actually, is that no doctor is ever going to be as invested in my health and my healing as I am. No matter who I went to see, no matter what specialist, no matter how much money they're charging me, nobody is gonna care as much about my own health as I will. So it's in your best interest to follow what your heart is telling you and get to the bottom of it, because you want to live a long and happy, healthy life as best you can. And the only way you're gonna do that is by driving the entire process yourself. Because if you just leave it to doctors, quite often it'll peter out. If you don't ask for things, they're not gonna read your mind. They're not gonna say, hey, maybe she thinks that this route is worth investigating. Maybe she should go have an allergy test. If you feel like you need something, just ask them or go get it yourself. I ended up getting a couple MRIs, and you know, those came back, depending on who you talk to, those came back inconclusive as well. Depending on who else you talk to, they told a big story. Again, I had to leave that up to my own instincts to interpret those results from what all those professionals were telling me. But I got those scans because I felt like I needed them. They were really important to me. And, you know, it did keep me in one direction, and it did keep me going towards finding the results that or the solutions that I finally found. Learning how to read and trust your intuition, to me, is the most important puzzle piece you could possibly have in your healing journey. So that's gonna wrap up this video, guys. I really hope that you get something from this. I really hope it helps. Whatever health challenges you have, whatever's going on with your life, just please don't give up. Just keep driving the process. You're gonna find the solutions eventually, as long as you keep looking for them. And I'll see you in another video. Thanks for watching.